Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Boother. I'm with CUGC HQ, and I would like to welcome you to today's CUGC Connect with Tricerat. We're going to be talking about solving all of your Citrix print issues. But before we get to that, I want to just let all of you know who might be new to CUGC that we have a ton of resources for you out at mycugc.org. And if you haven't already visited our site, we'd love to have you come out and find your local group. We have local groups all over the world, and we have 17,000 members, actually a little more than that, worldwide. So come on out and check things out there. Today we have Samuel Legrand. He is our CTP moderator, and he is also the leader of the French CUGC local group. Samuel, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone.
And Samuel's going to keep an eye on all of your questions for us today, so please type those into the question box in the GoToWebinar control panel. And he'll keep an eye on those, and we're going to save them up for the end and ask away. So don't be shy. Type in your questions as we go. All right. I'm going to turn things over in just a bit. We have 3 people on today from Tricerat. So we have Andrew Parlett. He's the CTO. We also have Chris Savela. He is an SE, and Carly Stum. So Andrew, I will send you the screen controls now so you can get us going.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carly, and I'm in the room here with Andrew and Chris. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Tricerat. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary this year, and our core values remain the same. We're dedicated to creating printing and scanning solutions that fit into any environment, but specifically Citrix, to help our customers make the best of their existing resources and to always provide a streamlined, top-notch UX. We're always proud to talk about our customers. We've got over 10,000 of them, and our NPS score is over 70, which is comparable to that of Apple. Again, our CTO Andrew and our sales engineer Chris are here today to give you guys a deep dive into how exactly we enhance enterprise print driver management. Andrew, can you get us started?
Hi all, I'm Andrew Parlett, the CTO at Tricerat. And just to cover our agenda today, we have a few things on the agenda. First, we do want to talk about our relationship with Citrix. Like Carly said, we've been around for 20 years now. And for that whole time, we've been partners with Citrix, and we'll talk about some of the history and the relationship there. We'll go through some common print issues in virtual environments. For almost all of that 20 years, we've been dealing with some sort of print management software. And so over the years, and even recently in the recent years, heard what the common issues are, the things that we hear over and over again in the environments. And some of these may resonate with the environments that you manage. Of course, after that, we'll talk about how the Tricerat solutions fit into that and how we can help solve those problems that occur in many of the environments that we come in contact with. We talk about moving paper in every direction. There's a variety of technologies that we have, and we'll talk about different ways that we can implement those printing technologies in different environments. We also have scanning software in the event that you need to get paper into your remote environment. But in this presentation today, it will be primarily centered around the set of printing products. And today we do want to talk about a new product that we have coming out. We're quite excited about this. It's adding to our portfolio of printing solutions. It really helps answer in a very robust way the problems in complex environments where you have different platforms and different technologies, and sometimes different solutions are needed to be deployed to answer those problems, and we can do that in the best way possible, all under one management interface. So we're very excited to talk about that. If you have heard of Tricerat and our solutions before, this will be a great refresher through some of our products, but then some new things to look at towards the end of our presentation. And of course, like Stephanie mentioned, we will have a question and answer time. We'll do that at the end, but please make sure to type those questions in to the GoToWebinar box as we go, and we'll make sure to address as many as possible at the end. Citrix has evolved continuously to expand the administrator's ability to control and improve the end user experience. This dates all the way back to the 80s in Citrix systems through Metaframe, and then even now with the releases of XenApp 7. Their focus has been the same: to take the world's applications, their desktops, their data, and provide easy and secure access to those. And over the years, Citrix has changed printer delivery. We think back to when it was editing XML files or installing drivers directly, even up to using the UPD. And the core printing services delivered through the UPD and the UPS can be successful, but like everything else, a one size doesn't always fit all. And controlling the unmanaged, controlling something outside of your technology is often difficult, sometimes impossible. It's always cumbersome. So especially for Citrix administrators, we want to look at those times where printing challenges come up kind of outside of those built-in default answers. And Tricerat was founded really to resolve those printing difficulties and extend the functionality that we find in Citrix. We are a company that has a focus very much so on printing, and so we want to embrace and extend the core function of the Citrix platforms, and do that by simplifying print driver management in the world's leading virtualization platform. So being close with Citrix, we're one of the oldest Citrix partners still in business. We've focused our core products and the ability to deliver that exceptional functionality to the end user without being a burden, and really easing the burden on a Citrix administrator. A while back, we were starting as a Citrix Business Alliance partner. Some of you may remember that program. We've maintained the relationship. Of course, now it's evolved in the Citrix Ready program, and we're an integral part of that. We've worked with partners. We started with the Citrix Summit event back in 2000. Also have been attending their customer-focused events, starting with Synergy in '98, and of course now what is Citrix Synergy. Perhaps some of you have seen us at those events, and whether you have or not, we'll certainly plan on being a future event. So we hope to see you come by our booth so we can talk one-on-one. So at the core of the presentation today, we want to go through some of these printing challenges that we find in a variety of environments. Sometimes they crop up in different ways, but these are things that we consistently hear from administrators of challenges in these enterprise environments. So let's first talk about printer delivery to your end users. This is really just about getting the right printers in front of the right users so that when the users log in, they have the printers that they need, they have access to the right devices, they can quickly, easily, consistently get their job done. So as an administrator, this is very much about delivering a great user experience out to your user base, doing that in a way that's very efficient to yourself as far as how you set that up, how you manage that day to day, and then that delivery to end users. The challenge in a virtualized space isn't necessarily just the printer. It's about changing printers and how you continually need to adapt and change with print drivers changing, with an increasingly complex environment and things being added on. So being able to dynamically respond to those kind of changes in the environment is very much a part of that print delivery out to the end users. Part of this is certainly proximity-based printing. Users move around. Perhaps it's between your managed environment and to an unmanaged environment, like at their home or a partner site. Perhaps it's completely within your managed environment, but it's just different spaces within the environments you manage. Maybe it's just office to office or floor to floor. So as users move around, their needs change. The printers that they need access to change. And so a print management tool has to be able to respond to that, to be able to give you the tool set necessary to deliver the right printer to the user no matter where they are. And when they move, that changes dynamically and without intervention from the administrator or the help desk. In today's world, security and compliance, obviously always a large topic. Security for every company out there, and we want to make sure that our solutions fit into your goals and your needs as it relates to security. So that means the data that we're moving around needs to be secure, encrypted, and not easily modified. For a user, that means making sure the print job goes to the right location. How much is the data exposed when a user is confused by the number of print options they have, and they click the wrong printer, and it ends up in a different place. Or you've spent money rolling out a print infrastructure with printers that have pin code printing or ways to release jobs, only to not have it supported by a print management solution. So we want to make sure to give you full access to those capabilities. And in compliance situations, healthcare, for instance, the solution needs to fit in with those scenarios as well. Remote printing, certainly one challenge is what you control, but it's a whole nother challenge when users are coming in from other locations, from partner sites, from their home, when you have no idea what printer it is that they're using. If it's part of your user experience to be able to allow them printing from those locations, then this is a set of solutions that makes that very simple and not something that's a burden for the administrator, but something that just easily comes out of the solution. And finally, delivering printers to mobile users. Again, a recent concern, but growing more and more each year as the virtualization platforms and the application platforms better distribute applications out to mobile devices. Along with that comes the need to print. Sometimes that's not an upfront design, but users always have a way of prodding the administrators to say, I need to print these documents, I need a way to do that. And even on a mobile device, that's oftentimes becomes a requirement. So delivering printers to mobile users as an extension of the main enterprise management space certainly is an important thing to consider. So these are 5 topics. Obviously there's more, but these are ones that we deal with frequently from our customer base. And it's quite likely that looking down this list, you've seen several that you've dealt with or have on the horizon as an administrator now. So let's move into how Tricerat and how our solutions fit into that environment and how it fits into those issues and helps solve those problems. At the core, Tricerat eliminates the need to install print drivers. So as we look at different products in the space, you'll see oftentimes the common thread is taking away the pain point of having to manually get drivers to each location, sometimes performance problems that arise from that. We're delivering a set of products where it's just a single driver that you need to get into the environment and manage, and then we take care of the rest. So there's a variety of ways that happens, from client printing, print server, even native driver management, and we'll go through those as part of our demonstrations here today. An important aspect of our offering is the simplicity. And your environments can be quite complex and spread out, but our solution is designed to layer on top of what you already have and what you've already engineered to deliver applications and access to your end users. So this is an example. This is an example scenario of an environment where maybe there at the center we have the Citrix storefront and Zen app and Zen desktop virtualized environments being distributed out. And we'll show how we integrate in with those Zen app and Zen desktop environments and farms. You also have clients connecting into those environments, into the Zen app farm. They might be thin clients or zero clients. They may be Windows or Mac. It could even be mobile clients connecting in. And so being able to distribute printing based on that endpoint is also an important thing that you should watch for as we show in the live demo. Print servers are oftentimes a part of the environment. If you have print servers in your environment, we can layer it directly on top of that. And we have a print server agent that easily imports those printers into our management interface and then allows you to easily distribute those out to your users. And then your enterprise workstations. These may be clients that are connecting into a virtual desktop or a shared terminal server, or they may be standalone with their own applications, Windows devices that just need printing locally. And so this is part of our simplified data management that we'll be talking about to manage printing in those workstations and to have a comprehensive environment that covers your virtualized environments as well as your physical workstations. Coming at this from the Citrix administrator point of view, we're really looking to arm you with a set of products that takes away the need to do the mundane tasks of managing print drivers and assigning printers and dealing with an influx of help desk tickets around what can be very simple management of printing. We want to take that off your plate and really give you back the ability to focus on Citrix, focus on the architecture, focus on kind of the larger environmental concerns that you need to deal with. One of those things is you may be familiar with the way that Citrix manages printers through print policies and the screens necessary to assign and deliver printers to end users. You'll see in just a few minutes how our management console makes that a much simpler process as far as being able to read in the printers and see who's getting what printers and then easily assign those out to the end users. It's possible to move support operations out to a separate team that might not be and probably isn't your Citrix support team. That console enables you to build Windows print queues from Citrix, from workstations, VDI, shared desktops, whatever it may be. And that can then be handed off to a help desk team. And part of the reason for putting a product in like that is to drastically reduce those help desk tickets so that they're not even spending their time on these daily tasks. We're giving them tools to easily support that. And we're looking to deliver 100% functionality of these devices. Oftentimes and certainly in years past, when delivering a virtual print driver solution like we have, it would mean a reduction in the functionality that's offered from the driver. But we have technologies now that you can still deliver the full set of functionalities, the advanced printing features from formatting, finishing features, pin code printing and such, and we'll show in a demo exactly how that's done with our Simplified printing today. So as we move into a demonstration of some of the products, we want to take a look at this from a few different angles, and starting with from the administrator perspective. What's the value that the Tricerat products deliver to an administrator? At the top of the list is the ability for control and flexibility. The ability to really decide on how you want to manage the environment for printing. Do you want to force printers to each end user? Do you want to give them the ability to choose their printing through a self-service portal or anywhere in between? And to be able to pull in virtual desktops and physical desktops and terminal services and all the different pieces of your environment into one interface really gives you that flexibility to easily manage what the printing infrastructure looks like in your environment. As we talked about, a drastic reduction in printing tickets. We have many stories that come back from our customers of the volume and the time spent on printing tickets that can be eliminated through deploying an administrative product like Simplified Printing. Gets you back to focusing on those engineering tasks instead of just the end user support, but we're not sacrificing that end user support. We're still giving a great end user experience through the centralized management tools and minimal effort on the part of the administrator. So at this point, let's take a look at what the product looks like, and I'll turn that over to Chris.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Welcome, everyone. My name is Chris. I am a SE over here at Tricerat, and I'll be doing the demonstration part of the webinar. So as you can see on your screen, we have our centralized management console we call Simplified Console. And here's where you create and manage your assignments to your users, your end users, your workstations. And we're going to go through each of the owners or each of the panes and kind of show how it works. So the first pane you see here is your owner's pane. The owner's pane lists a read-only version of your Active Directory, so you can make assignments based on a user, in addition to a security group, as well as an organizational unit. And it can also make assignments based on an OU or a computer ID. In terms of proximity assignments, we can see that down here. In case you have some users or machines outside of your directory or in a remote site, you can make assignments based on an IP address range in addition to an IP address and even a machine ID or a host name. In addition, we also work with simple expressions. So if you have a range of, let's say, machine IDs that start with ER client, like ER client 1, ER client 2, you can make assignments to every machine that starts with ER client. If we go back to assignments for Chris, you can see here I already have a few assignments for different printers. This right here is just kind of highlight that we are manufacturer agnostic. We work with all makes and models, including, like Andrew said, your wide format, your thermal printers, your barcode printers, some of those tricky printers that are hard to manage. In the objects pane, this is where you would import your print server in addition to your printers. Right now, I already have a print server imported and all the printers refreshed. But to add a new object or a new print server is as simple as right-click New Object, do PS2, ZPS2, that works for me. A new object's created, and you just type in the host name or IP address, and then refresh all printers. And what this does is automatically imports the printers for you in addition to the drivers that they are using. So we go back to our primary print server. Here in the primary print server, I just want to point out some of the features we'll see in the future, including the advanced print features right here. Advanced print features is how we handle loading that manufacturer's UI for your end user. What we do is we actually hand off from the print server to your end user the manufacturer's UI. So if you spend that $30,000 for that awesome printer you guys have, you can get all the features and all the functions out of that printer. In addition to failover print server with Windows Server 2012, Microsoft disabled print server clustering, and this is our solution to that, which is nice for larger environments. In addition, real quick, you can set some kind of global settings for each printer in your print server, including customized printer naming. You can see that here. We can actually set printer-specific settings, including that advanced print features, in addition to some printer naming and some extended features here. In addition to this refresh printer, in case you need to update your driver for whatever reason, you can just simply refresh the printer, and that new driver is going to be handed out to all your users, all your owners that are taking care of that printer. So to create a new assignment, it's just simple as taking an object, combining it with an owner, and you get an assignment. So we'll do that here. I will assign the Xerox right here to admin assigned. And now that user Chris, which is me, that user Chris now has that Xerox Work Center. And when we get to the end user experience, we can see how I can just simply refresh that environment and get that Xerox. No, you don't need to log off or close your virtual desktop or close your hosted app. You can just simply use our user assigned printer tool, our self-service tool, to refresh that printer or any settings you may have updated for those printers that are assigned to Chris. While we're in the assignments pane, I would like to kind of point out the differences between admin assigned and user allowed printers. The admin assigned printers are exactly that. They're assigned by an administrator. These are the printers that your users or your owners have to have. They will have in their sessions, whether it be a hosted app or a virtual desktop. These are the printers that they'll always have. User allowed printers is your self-service side of things for your end user. In case they need this Toshiba, for example, for maybe a day or for a week, that Toshiba has a special feature, a special layout that they need to use for that day, they can add it to their environment, to their remote session, and have that, and then can remove it when they don't need it any longer. Down here, to touch on this real quick, this is our screwdriver setting. This is for your users who might have a locally attached printer to their local workstation, like a USB printer, any printer that's attached to their local, maybe thick client. And here, that printer will come into their remote sessions as well.
So going back to some of the highlights that we talked about earlier, we mentioned layering on top of your existing environment. And so seeing a print server in there, assuming that you have a print server in the environment with some printers loaded, with the simple addition of our agent, Chris comes in here into the console, adds that print server, imports those printers, and very quickly, have all the pieces necessary to deliver those printers out to your end users through this simple drag and drop interface. And then selecting over on the left a user, not only can we easily assign a printer to a user, but we can quickly see the printers that the user has installed. So from the point of that help desk staff that needs to see what printers are assigned to users, they have all the tools at their disposal now to do that. And then the self-service piece, again, we talked about the flexibility of being able to choose admin assigned or just user allowed, and we'll see how that affects the user experience here in just a moment. So let's now shift the demo into that user experience. And what are the things that we're looking for from a print management solution? One of those things is consistency and having the same printers across the environment. Oftentimes there's different platforms that users are accessing, from their local workstation to a Zen desktop or a Zen app environment, perhaps a hybrid environment from different technologies that are delivering applications. And the ability to have a consistent interface of printers across these environments, even out to mobile that we'll see a little bit later, really makes a difference in that user experience. So they don't have different ways to print and different access to different printers and their different platforms. Having the full functionality of those printers is a huge piece. When it's a locally built printer, that's one thing, but here we can take advantage of all the features and benefits of a virtual print driver, of not having to install that driver on every virtual desktop and every terminal server, but still deliver a full end user experience, a full set of advanced features based on the printers that you have. We can manage the default printing, which is oftentimes a point of trouble for a user, to deliver the right default printer based on their role and their position. Their location is important, and then giving the user the ability to change that through that self-service portal gives them the best possible end user experience. And that self-service piece, which Chris will demonstrate in a minute, delivers that ultimate flexibility where maybe as an administrator, I know this is their main printer, they need to log in, they need to use this, it's just the easiest way to go about it. But I can also then give them that option to say, okay, today I need another printer. Instead of generating a help desk call, let me just go into the self-service tool, add it. Still nothing on the administrator side, still no drivers that are manually copied over. It's still using our virtual driver technology to deliver this quickly and easily within the session. So why don't we have a look?
Okay, thank you, Andrew. So we're going to switch over to the end user experience real quick. Okay, here I have a simple desktop. This could be your Zen desktop. And in the environment, I already have some of the printers built. And if you remember from the assignments, I have the various manufacturers here, Ricoh, Lexmark, Kyocera, Canon. And again, just to highlight that we work with any make and manufacturer, and we can get away with that because of what you see here. We're actually using our screwdriver's driver right here. If we look into the print server properties, into the drivers list, you can see that in addition to the Canon, which is a native driver, the only other driver we have are the generic Microsoft ones and our screwdriver's printer driver. And that just showcases that we can build these printers using our one driver. And like Andrew said, we want to have the ability that even though we're using our driver, we want you and your end users to have the ability to use all those great features with your printer. So if we open up the printer properties, we're actually loading the manufacturer's dialog, the manufacturer's driver for your end user. And as you can see here, we didn't recreate this. We're not recreating the wheel. This is actually loaded right from the print server for your end user. So if they need to do any profile printing, if they need to do any print and hold for maybe secure printing or pin printing, you can do that using our simplified printing product. Now, in terms of, let's say, a hosted app for Zen app, it's the process is exactly the same. If we open up a printer dialog, here you go. Here are our screwdrivers printers, our simplified printing printers, in addition to that Lexmark. And again, you can use that advanced print feature, that manufacturer's print driver, in your Zen app or your Zen desktop environments. Cancel out of that. Now, like Andrew said, we also have a self-service side of things as well. For your end users. We'll give it a second for that to come up. So here's what we call our user-assigned printers. This is the end user's self-service side of the equation. If you want to give your end user some control over which printers are in their environment, you can do that here. If I want to add, if you remember from our management console, I added that Xerox right into. Sorry, excuse me. If we want to refresh our environment to get that Xerox in here, we can hit this refresh printers button. What we do is we tear down all our simplified printing printers and rebuild them, including that new Xerox printer that I assigned just a few seconds ago. And this is just to showcase, to highlight the fact that I didn't have to log off this virtual desktop. I didn't have to close that hosted app to get this Xerox to pop up to be available for your end user. In addition, those user allow printers that they may need every now and then, it's as simple as add printer. I'm going to add this Toshiba, and then refresh printers. And again, we just tear down all the printers in this devices printers dialog and rebuild them to include the Xerox and the Toshiba right here. Now, Andrew touched on being able to manage your default printer in your sessions. This is where your end users would do that in this user assigned printers console. You can do that as an added printer. You can do that right here, or you can go to the advanced view, which is just a stripped down view for this user to show all their admin assigned printers in addition to their user allowed printers that have been added to their sessions. And if I want to change my default printer to the Lexmark, hit that. And as you can see, that's updated as well. But if your users want to feel a little better, they can hit the refresh printer button. We're going to tear everything down. It'll back up, and the Lexmark is your default printer again. So with that, I'm going to hand it back off to Andrew.
Yeah, so this is a demonstration, of course, of just a single Windows 10 desktop, but this can be done on their VDI session, up in a XenApp session. The same printers can be built on their local server, or their local workstation rather, so they get that consistency of printers across their various environments. So we'll add one more layer onto here, which is guest and bring your own device printing. And especially when we get into that, we're talking about mobile. People bringing iPads into the environment, Android devices, various devices that are connecting into your environment that maybe aren't part of the traditional Windows desktop space. And so again, we're taking this enterprise management ideal and moving it out to unmanaged devices, to mobile devices, and still keeping that same consistency across the platforms. So we can take that one print driver that is a Windows printer in your data center right now, we can deliver it to Windows, we can deliver it to iOS or Mac OS, to Android devices, to guest printing that maybe aren't directly part of your Active Directory. We can still bring those in and manage those users. And that same kind of mentality of a full enterprise print management and user service tool. So we're going to give a very quick demonstration of our remote product, or our mobile product rather. On screen, I'm going to pull up a, this is my iOS device here, and then I've shared the screen too. So we have iOS app, Simplified Printing TX is the name of the product. That comes up, gives you the ability to log in this case with an Active Directory account. We have added one piece to the infrastructure as far as a central server to manage the logins from these mobile devices. We can log in and authenticate. I'm actually going to switch to a different Windows desktop here behind my iOS device, and I have the similar Simplified Printing TX user service and printers that have built in my session. And one of the things that adds to the consistency between these sessions is here within the iOS device, I can see the printers that have been deployed from my enterprise management system. I can also see printers that are around me in some way. Some of these you see are Bonjour printers that I've just discovered from my iOS device and can pull into the Citrix session. Others may be Windows queues that are either shared from the Windows administrator, or it could be other users that have shared their own local printers out onto the system. So there's an aspect of user sharing as well as administrator sharing here. So I'm looking through the list here. I see HP Color LaserJet 2025 looks good. That's a Windows queue that someone has shared to me. I click on the add button, and so on my iOS screen, that printer is now one of the devices listed in my list of printers. But if you noticed, in real time, it was added back here to my Windows session too. And so both on my iOS device and on my Windows 10 desktop, again, the same user may be using different technologies for different applications. I get the same printers listed and the same access to those printers. For my Windows application, I can now print to that 2025. And from iOS, perhaps there's a app. In this case, I'll just use the Notes app. I can open up the printing page. And when I go to select a printer, I'll see there are a few printers nearby, but then these printers that are on this list, say I detected a few native printers, the Epson and the HP, but the ones with the icon to the side are printers that have now been published to my iOS device by Simplified Printing. So from those Windows queues, devices that aren't native AirPrint printers, because I've registered and subscribed to them on the app, I now have them delivered to my iOS device. So even an app on iOS can print to that. In this case, we have an icon to just signal that those are built by Simplified Printing TX. In production versions, it's TX_. You'll see just a second to show where those printers come from. But now we have the ability to manage, secure, and define those printers for iOS printing, just like Windows printing. Similarly, I can I'll go the other way this time. Let me log back in. From my Windows app this time, I'll take that HP 2025. Let's say I'm done with it. I'll unsubscribe. You see the printer immediately is removed from my Windows session. And then if I look back at my iOS device, it's been removed from the list for the iOS device too. So some compatibility and consistency even between these platforms. This works across Windows. This works across Mac, iOS, Android. And so basically all the different device types that you might be connecting into your enterprise systems with can now have the same level of enterprise print management. So we've gone through a variety of different scenarios already, primarily centered around our virtual print driver that can dynamically show itself as any print driver out there without the need to copy the driver around. But the new product that we want to talk about is Simplified Driver Management. And the idea here is that for those types of environments that do need native printers installed, most often we're talking about workstation-centric environments that don't have servers. So very much the other products were server-based. You have terminal servers and virtual desktops in your data center and print servers to deliver those printing. But for environments that need a serverless solution and a workstation-centric solution, we have the Simplified Driver Management to then manage the drivers locally. It's still only one place. We read the driver into our database. It's that same management console that Chris was showing earlier, and we'll show again in a minute, integrating seamlessly in with our other solutions, the same kind of management. And again, as the administrator, you now have that flexibility through that same drag and drop interface, whether or not to deliver a virtual print driver in the case of VDI or remote access solutions, or the native driver for workstations that need just direct IP printing for the ultimate performance, the ultimate compatibility, the ultimate ease from both the administrator and the user experience. So let's have a look at how this integrates into that same management console.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. So we're going to go back to our main server. Here is the simplified console we saw before, but in the background, we actually have, this is a simple Windows Server 2016 print server. But like Andrew said, there's no hardware requirements for this, you could say, staging machine for the driver management. So here is just to showcase, again, manufacturer agnostic. But if we wanted to add drivers to our driver management console or to our simplified driver management product, here this local drivers tab is going to list all the drivers that are installed on this staging machine, if you want to call it that, including the Kyocera, the Lexmark, some of the Microsoft default printers as well. So here I already have a Canon installed and loaded into the database, and you can see that right here. You also can see the size of that driver, versioning, the type of environment it works in. It's all pulled from the driver itself, so it's very intelligent that way. But to add a new driver, you simply toggle this little button right here. Gray means it's thinking, green means it's loaded into the database. So right now I have this Kyocera loaded into the database. And if I go over here, you can see that right here, including all the environment, version, and the data size. And that's it. That's how you get that driver into the database. Very, very simple. Again, local drivers all the drivers loaded up, one click, thinking, load into the database. And now your simplified driver management database has these 3 drivers that can be assigned to your users, to your end users. And we'll see that, how to make those assignments right here. So we're back into that same simplified console. And again, we like to management everything in one location. So we're in the printers is for your simplified printing, your managed printers. Again, we're gonna highlight that. And here I already had that Canon, which was already loaded in the database, kind of pre-set up for your object. But to create a new object is simply right-click again, new object. We'll do the Lexmark. And then you give it a printer name. We'll name it the same thing. Nope, maybe I spelled correctly. Okay. And then we work with IP-based printers. So you just give it an IP address. Okay. And then once you have that, you can go down into your drop-down list and you can see all the drivers I have loaded up in our simplified management database. So the Canon was already for the Canon, but since this is going to be a Lexmark, we'll click this. You can also load 32-bit drivers for 32-bit machines. And the software, our software is intelligent enough to determine when a user logs in what bit versions of the machine is and what driver to load. If I move back to Chris, our user Chris right here, you can see I already have a Canon assigned to him. But the drag and drop method works just the same. Drag it, drop it into the printers folder, and now Chris would have that Lexmark. So we'll move back to the end user experience, and this is the Canon driver that we had pre-installed, and you can tell by the naming scheme, but also by the picture. So we're actually loading the Canon as a native driver for your end user, and that's how we eliminate your print servers, eliminate your ability to have to manage those drivers somewhere else. We take care of that management for you. And again, since it's the native driver, of course, the printer properties, and oops, clicked the wrong one. We go in here, and there you go. Printer preferences for that Canon, including your secure print, your printer profiles. Again, since it's the native driver, we're not passing it for you. The native driver is already loaded for your end user.
This method offers direct IP printing. So areas where you may want to use this is certainly workstation environments that do not have print servers. This makes a very easy and seamless method to manage the print drivers across that environment. For environments that have print servers where you have reasons to eliminate those print servers, that you want to drop those print servers, and whether they're repurposed or decommissioned or whatever, this is a method that can then still give you that kind of print management without the need for any print servers. And then for hybrid environments, perhaps there's environments where you have a location that is tied into your data center, where you have print servers and your other enterprise equipment, where the virtual driver brings advantages in remote access, performance through VDI, these types of scenarios where that virtual driver still makes sense. But then locations in your environment that don't have print servers and you have no ability or desire to put a print server there, then you can still manage those through the same management interface without the need to manually take those drivers out to each endpoint, install and manage all the different endpoints. It's again just our idea of a single driver, and then our software take care of managing it from there on out. So that covers the range of printing products that we have. There's different products for the different scenarios through screwdrivers and Simplified Printing, the mobility with Simplified Printing TX, and native driver management with Simplified Driver Management. This does bring us to the end of our presentation. Hopefully, if you've had questions throughout, you've typed them into that GoToWebinar box. If you haven't yet and you have something that you'd like to ask, please type that in now. Samuel, I'd love to turn it over to you and see if we have questions that have come in.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions during the presentation. So the first one was at the beginning. You almost cover all the answer during the presentation, but maybe you can just sum up. So the question is about what I can't do with WEM and what I can do with screwdrivers and Tricerat products.
Comparing to UEM?
Yeah.
Okay, so the products that we offer, screwdrivers is the underlying technology that's been around a long time. Some of you may have heard of that particular technology. That's our underlying virtual driver technology. So through our one driver, it can then present itself as any other. Like Chris showed, no other drivers had to be loaded on the system. So you have the advantage of being able to dynamically present itself in a VDI or terminal server environment as any remote printer. That might be a printer that the administrator has no knowledge of. It's coming in from a user's home, for instance. We have developed our own protocol. We call it TMF. So it's an evolution, so to speak, from EMF and PDF and other kind of print protocol technologies. So we've developed this print protocol specifically for this kind of virtual driver and remote access environment, so that the fidelity of the print job, as far as the fonts and the images and the formatting, all come out at the highest possible quality. We can maximize the compression on that stream so that it's quick and fast to print. So we have quite a few advantages as far as our focused printing technology in this type of print scenario. So as far as comparison with some of those other products, UEM, for instance, is kind of more just generic driver management, as printer management, assuming the driver's there. So we can take away the need to manage the print drivers everywhere other than a single spot and then through our management console.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. The second one is someone asked if the product rely on the service on the XenApp server.
There are some services that are installed on the XenApp server. Depending on the product and implementation, there's a few different pieces. What you saw with the Simplified console, there is a SQL server that backs that. So basically that's what's controlling the configuration information that you see in the Simplified console. So we do have a set of services on XenApp that detects a user logging in, queries the right information from the database to find out what printers should be assigned, and the information about those printers, and then that service is what builds the printers in the user session. So yes, there's a service to manage those user logins and then build the printers in the session.
Perfect. The third one, what remote protocols do you support? Are you linked to Citrix or?
So for the remote connections, in other words, if we're building client printers in the server or in the virtual desktop, we work across protocols including Citrix ICA, Microsoft RDP, and then VMware's PC over IP. So any of those protocols will be able to get the information from the client printer and build it up in the server. Now, if you're using print servers, then everything is server-based. So the client doesn't matter. The protocol doesn't matter. It could be a zero client. That's all done up in the server. And then for our solution that's serverless, that requires a Windows desktop. And so we manage the drivers on the Windows desktops in that environment.
Perfect. Thank you. I have another one talking about mobile users. How can I manage printers for users that move between offices?
Great. Yeah, that's a common use for our products. And so in the demonstration that was shown, one of the options in the Simplified console is to manage based on device, either the name, including like wildcard characters, or IP addresses. Most often, we find like different offices will have a different IP subnet. So it's very simple in the console just to define a few different subnets for the different offices. You then drop the printers that drag and drop to those IP subnets of the printers that are in those offices, either assigned or user allowed. And then when the user shows up, and by the way, the IP address that we're referencing is that of the client. So for instance, if it's a laptop, even if it's connecting into your data center somewhere else in the world, it's that client IP address. And so when I open up my laptop in Office A, then the IP range that's related to that, I'll get those printers. And so the user immediately upon their login instantly has access to the printers that are local to him right then.
Perfect. A question about OS compatibility, about server 2008, 12, 16.
Our latest versions of the software start at server 2008 and go up, including 2016. And then on the desktop side, it's Windows 7 and up, obviously including the versions of Windows 10.
Okay, perfect. And I have a last one about pricing. How the product is priced per user or per printer or whatever?
For our Simplified printing product and screwdrivers, there's a variety of mechanisms, but it's primarily per user. So we'd usually just license similar to the way that you already license your Citrix environments. We have not yet released pricing information for Simplified driver management. It would be a good time to point out, we have it there on the slide, but there is a 30-day trial available at tricerat.com. So for our products, you can download, there's an install guide that comes with it. It's fairly simple to get a simple POC running as far as installing a server, client, and building printers relatively quickly. We also have a staff of engineers here that are very eager to walk you through a presentation of our technology and even help you install it on your system free of charge. And that information is available there at tricerat.com as well.
Perfect. I think we cover all the questions I had. So Joshua, maybe you can take the screen. So I will start by thank you the Tricerat team for this webinar. Please, all of you, take a moment to fill out a survey. We appreciate your feedback and we want you to fill out it. And concerning the Apple AirPods, as we will announce the winner on Twitter following this webinar, don't forget to follow my CUGC on Twitter. So thank you very much for all of you for being there.
That's also just
All right, thank you very much, Samuel. Thank you all for attending, and we look forward to speaking to you about the products in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.